Hello viewers, welcome to another episode of Physio TV. Myself is Dr. Areesha Mirza. I'm from Sancheti Institute for Orthopaedic and Rehabilitation College of Physiotherapy. Today the topic which I'll be covering is extracorporeal shockwave therapy. I'll be sharing the slide now. We'll be starting with the introduction of the extracorporeal shockwave therapy. So basically, shockwave therapy is a non-invasive therapy in which a single impulse transient acoustic wave of 1 microsecond duration is applied to different target body regions, which will help in producing analgesia and facilitate healing through a mechanism which is known as mechanotransduction. Extracorporeal shockwave therapy, initially it was developed from extracorporeal shockwave lithotripsy. So initially it was developed for renal stones, and then it was modified as extracorporeal shockwave therapy, and then it was used in orthopedic conditions. So in orthopedic conditions, when when bones were exposed to extracorporeal shock waves, the primary response was the primary osteocyte damage was done, which was followed by osteoblastic stimulation. So this resulted in demonstration of stimulation of fracture healing in extracorporeal shockwave in animal bodies. The principle behind this is it revolves around the action of shockwaves which are rapid but of shorter duration, and these are acoustic waves that carry energy and propagate through the tissue. Mechanism of action: the shock waves are basically non-linear type of pressure waves which have a short rise time which last up to 10 microseconds, and there are basically two phases of shock waves: the positive phase and the negative phase. So for the positive, which these two phases have an interface between various tissues and that have a different densities, because the tissues like bone, muscle, they have different densities. So what happens in positive phase is the higher pressure shock waves hit the interface, and that is reflected or it can be refracted, and then it can gradually be absorbed. Then what happens in negative phase is, during the negative phase, which is also known as tensile phase, the shock wave generates cavitation at the tissue interface, which will result in formation of the air bubbles or the gas bubbles. Then these gas bubbles implode with higher speed, which produce a second wave of shock wave, which are also known as microjets of fluid. So basically, there are two phases, positive and negative. In positive phases, the wave is reflected, refracted, or it is absorbed. And in the negative phase, there is majorly cavitation, formation of gas bubbles. Then there are various tissue reaction phase which occurs in shock wave. So there are four reaction phase which occurs. There is physical phase, physiochemical phase, chemical phase, and biological phase. So what happens in physical phase is the shock waves generate positive pressure, then it causes absorption, reflection, refraction, and transmission of energy to tissues and cells, and the cavitation which we saw earlier. So what happens with cavitation is cavitation causes increasing in permeability of the cell membrane, and thus it's help in ionization of the biological molecules. So this is what happens in the physiological phase. The next phase which we'll be seeing is physiochemical phase. So by the name, it is physicochemical phase. So basically there is physical stimulus which is leading to a biochemical reaction. So here if there is a biochemical reaction, so what happens in biochemical reaction is it helps in triggering the biomolecular release. For example, adenosine triphosphate. So which will help in further improving the cell signaling pathway activation. Next phase is chemical phase. So shockwaves alter ion channel functions in cell membrane, and it helps in mobilization of the calcium ions into the cell. The last phase which we'll be seeing is biological phase. So for the biological phase, extracorporeal shockwave therapy modulates angiogenesis, and it has an anti-inflammatory effect, and it helps in healing of the bone and soft tissue. So with the extracorporeal shockwave therapy, there is also polarity shift of the macrophages. So there are two types of macrophages, M1 macrophage and M2 macrophage. For M1 macrophage, it has a pro-inflammatory role, which is stimulated by microbial agents. that helps in displaying the microbial activity. So it helps in inhibiting the cell proliferation, releases interleukin 6 and TNF alpha. The another one is M2 macrophage. It has an anti-inflammatory property and it is produced by type 2 helper cells immune response. So it helps in promoting angiogenesis, cell proliferation and repair via polyamine and collagen synthesis by releasing interleukin 10 and interleukin 4. So what happens with shockwave is it helps in shifting the polarity from M1 to M2, which is valuable for inflamed cellular microenvironment. So initially, it M1. What is the role of M1 here? It inhibits cell proliferation by releasing interleukin 6 and TNF alpha. So what shockwave does is shockwave causes shifting of the polarity from M1 to M2. That is, it will promote anti-inflammatory response. It will promote angiogenesis, new formation of new blood vessels. It will promote cell proliferation and repair, and thus it will help in healing process. So the shockwave will help in pain relief by all this mechanism, tissue regeneration, and calcification destruction. Now we'll be seeing the types of extracorporeal shockwave. So basically there are two types of shockwave. First is focused shockwave and another is radial shockwave. So in focused we have three further types like electrohydraulic, electromagnetic and piezoelectric shockwave. So in this diagram we can see there is a shockwave source and then there is focused shockwave which is being produced and this is the target tissue which is there. In another is there is radial shockwave. So we have a shockwave source, the waves which is generated and the target tissue. So by seeing this diagram, we can see there is once the waves are leaving from the source head and it is going to the targeted tissue, the waves are getting concentrated here. That means there is point of maximum energy flux density. So it helps in focusing the shock waves to the targeted tissue. Whereas in radial shock wave, what happens is when the shock waves are released from the treatment head, it when it travels, then it diverges. So there is divergence of the shock wave, and when it gets received on the target tissue, there is divergence of the shock wave. So basically, focused shock wave has a negative phase and it has high intensity. So it majorly targets the deeper tissue because in the previous one, which we see, because it leaves from the shock wave source and then it gets concentrated. So that it helps in delivering the shock waves to the deeper tissue. And for the radial wave, since it's as in the previous diagram which we have seen, so in that diagram, we have seen that it is dissipating when it is receiving the target, when it is getting closer to the target tissue. So radial shock wave has no negative phase. It has higher intensity on the applicator surface, but once it reaches the target area, there is divergence of the phase. So it is majorly for superficial areas, the radial waves, and for the focus shock waves are majorly for the deeper structures. But both the types dissipate energy in tissues and they help in activating the reparative process of healing. So these are the devices which are electrohydraulic, piezoelectric, electromagnetic, flat one, the electromagnetic cycle one, cylindrical one. Sorry. The devices which we see are electrohydraulic, piezoelectric, electromagnetic flat, electromagnetic cylindrical, and the radial. So basically these ones, the starting four, these are focused. And the last one is radial. So there was one article in which they have listed therapeutic effects and the biological effects of shock waves. So therapeutic effects were analgesic effect, tissue repair effect, and osteogenic effect. So what happens in analgesic effect is it helps in decreasing the substance P in the area of application, which results in selective loss of unmyelinated nerve fibers, which results in so there is a decreased expression of calcitonin related peptides in the dorsal root ganglion and it helps in activation of serotonergic system. Another effect is tissue repair effect. So here we see proliferation of the tenocytes, activation of catabolic processes leading to elimination of damaged matrix constituents. So there is micro disruption of avascular, poorly vascularized tissue, increased tissue neovascularization, and there is enhancement in the collagen synthesis, maturation, and also there is regulation in proliferation, activation, and differentiation of keratinocytes originating from the scar tissue. So thus, by producing all this biological effect, it will help in tissue repair. Another effect is osteogenic effect. For osteogenic effect, initially that we saw is it also has a effect on osteoblastic stimulation. So the biological effect which is seen here is osteoblast grow through osteogenic transcription factors such as vascular endothelial growth factor A and hypoxia inducible factor 1 alpha. Regulation and stimulation of chondrogenesis and bone generation, regeneration through mesenchymal stem cell metabolism. Also, there is enhancement of PDR3 expression involved in 1 alpha 25 dihydroxyvitamin D3, rapid membrane signaling pathway related to calcium homeostasis. Also, there is stimulation of periosteum but decreased osteoclastic activity. So initially we saw there is decreased osteoclastic activity as well. So it helps in stimulation of the periosteum by decreasing the osteoclastic activity. And there is osteoblastic proliferation and differentiation through regulation of nitric oxide, protein kinase, bone morphogenetic protein 2, and transforming growth factor beta 1. So, in this article, they have given a summary of various pathologies in which the shock waves are used, the intensity, session, pulses, and what they have resulted in. So, for the calcific tendinopathy of the shoulder, high intensity shock wave was used. Sessions which are given were 3 to 4 sessions every 1 to 2 weeks. The pulses which they used was 1500 to 2000 pulse. So this helps in locating the calcification, patient in supine position with shoulder in extension and internal rotation. Sorry. Purpose. So this article summarizes different pathology, the intensity, session, pulses, and where the shock wave is given. So first, for the calcific tendinopathy of the shoulder, intensity used was high. Session given were 3 to 4 every 1 to 2 weeks. And pulses were 1500 to 2000. So first we need to locate the calcification. The patient should be in supine line with shoulder in extension and internal rotation. For lateral epicondylitis, intensity should be low. Sessions should be 3 every 1 to 2 weeks. Pulses, same as before, like 1500 to 2000, applying to the maximum point of pain. Next is greater trochanteric pain syndrome. The intensity used here was low. Sessions 3 every 1 to 2 weeks. Pulses which are applied as 2000 applied to the point of maximum pain. For patellar tendinopathy, intensity low every 3 week, every 1 to 2 week, 3 sessions, and pulses should be 1500 to 2000 applied to the maximum point of pain. For Achilles tendinopathy, intensity was low. Sessions here were 4 every 1 to 2 weeks. Pulses 2000 applying to the point of maximum pain. For plantar fasciitis, intensity low. Session 3 every 1 to 2 weeks. Pulses used here was 2000 and apply to the point of maximum pain. And for trapezius myofascial syndrome, intensity used is low. Sessions 4 to 8, 1 to 2 per week. Pulse is 1000, applying to the maximum point of pain. For low back pain, intensity suggested was low, 6 to 10 sessions, 1 to 2 per week. 1000 shock waves, applying to the point of maximum pain. For delayed bone healing, intensity high, sessions 1 to 4 every 1 to 2 week. Pulses 2000 to 4000. Localize the area using radiology. For bone healing, delayed bone healing. And for avascular necrosis of hip, intensity used were high every 1 to 2 week for like 1 to 2 sessions were given. Here the pulses used were more. 4,000 to 6,000. And look, we have to locate the area using radiology only. And then as for osteoarthritis, intensity low, sessions 4 every 1 to 2 weeks. Pulses should be 2,000, applying to the maximum point of pain. And for carpal tunnel syndrome, intensity low, session 3 every 1 to 2 weeks. Pulses should be 1,000 to 1,500, applying to the maximum point of pain. So, this article, which was published in 2023, Extracorporeal Shockwave Therapy for the Treatment of Musculoskeletal Pain, a narrative review, also gave level of evidence for shockwave in various pathology. So, for calcific tendinopathy of shoulder, for lateral epicondylitis, greater trochanteric pain syndrome, and plantar fasciitis, delayed bone healing, the level of evidence was 1 plus. For patella tendinopathy, Achilles tendinopathy, trapezius myofascial syndrome, low back pain, avascular necrosis of the hip, osteoarthritis, femoral head osteonecrosis, pubic osteitis, carpal tunnel syndrome, it was 1 minus. Bone marrow edema syndrome of the hip, it was 2 minus. Coxicodynia, it was 3, and Kienbock's disease, it was 3. So, in summary, first we need to identify clinically what is the condition. Then we need to scan using the shockwave therapy, using the head which we are using. We need to scan using the treatment head. So after scanning, we have to apply particular shockwaves. And then the biological effect is seen, which simulates analgesic effect, osteogenic effect, and tissue reparative process. So this helps in improving the pain and function of the patient, and and it will help in maintaining the long-term improvement by ensuring the sustained benefits in pain and function. This was all about shockwave therapy. I would like to thank you, Dr. Parag Sancheti, Mrs. Manisha Sangvi, Dr. Radha Bhattar, and Physio TV team for giving me this opportunity to present my topic on this platform. Thank you.